flow.
I think you can be long ETH for a variety of reasons, and
That's fine. I'm just saying, in my humble opinion, sir.
Yeah, I did play the first, like I told Don, I played the first leg on BTC, but then the impulse from like maybe 38 to 40, I was back mostly in ETH.
Could you imagine the sweet, sweet justice of the market when EIP 1559 does jack shit to price? Oh, I'll just be here sipping my tea.
Sipping your tea. Your haterade. Well, even my rotation, though, wasn't so bad because I also pushed into some DeFi stuff like at the lows. So those have outperformed Bitcoin, even though people aren't talking about that yet. So how about them apples?
Yeah, I mean, I want the scams to pump. Don't get me wrong.
The scams.
It's just,
sorry, don't call them scams.
It's just
high quality.
They don't hold on to prices here, which is the problem. But that's the honest to God truth.
I don't know what that means.
You can buy a one, be up 20%, and then 2 days later, they're down 50%. You're like, what the fuck is going on? That's the issue.
I see what you mean. You mean they get wrecked on the way down?
They get ultra wrecked.
Well, live now.
I've been watching this 4-hour structure like a fly on shit.
Venture, Don,
We're almost home free. Almost home free.
Towards 49?
As far as target? No, I'm just looking at like this resistance. Ledger was tweeting out some nonsense about 54. Get the front door out of here.
What did I say about 54?
I think you said you liked 54.
Oh,
I mean,
that's as my target, not my go zone.
I like, yeah, I know. Even that, I like 47, 46.
Okay, well, we can talk about it. We're about to start the show.
Because if we're at 54, we're in 100Kville.
We can fight about that. We can talk about it. We're about to.
There will be a bloody pulp fight.
Good. Hello, chat, Mr. Chicken Hunters. Are you a Litecoin trader? Did you Ledger? Did your charge back from 11 go through yet? I did not go to 11, sir. It's an adult store, adult club that I did not frequent, nor even partake in the slightest. Don't FUD.
What's 11? It's kind of like a restaurant, right?
Yeah, it's a restaurant for sure.
Nice.
Luke, I like the 80s style hat with the rope across the front.
You like that, man?
Yeah, I like it.
It almost looks like an Ethereum logo, but it's not.
I was born at the end of the 80s, and I didn't even know the reference there. So
the hat? That's because you weren't.
The rope.
This little rope right here.
Yeah, I've never seen that before in my life.
Yeah, it's a big. It was definitely like the country club hat style.
It's our country club here in Indy.
There you go. There you go. Told you.
You are so much wealthier and smarter than me.
I don't know about the wealthier part. It's been a tough run here. JK. I'm not near as bad as some people, like, off the highs. Like, people talking about being down 75% and crap. Like, that's brutal.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only if you're, like, all in Shiba, right? Shiba, I think Doge dumped 50% too.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's press go. And gonna transition. All right. 3. Oh man, I can't record. Oh well, that's okay. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, do you want me to record?
No, I just meant the video. We'll just I can trim the YouTube. It's fine.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Weekly Open. We got the whole crew here today. It's going to be fun. Appreciate y'all being here with us. Those of you that are here live, if you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. We record this at 11 a.m. Eastern time. on Monday mornings. Before we get to the main show, let's say thanks to our partner, Blockfolio. Go to weeklyopen.com/Blockfolio. Check it out today. It's easy to trade from one asset to the other. I also found out it's also the easiest way to onboard to the Solana ecosystem. If you want to do that, you can just buy Solana and then transition it over. Thanks to Blockfolio for being our partner. Go to weeklyopen.com/Blockfolio. Now let's get to the show. What's up, guys? Luke, how you doing?
I'm feeling normal again. Feeling like a human.
You're
healthy.
Normal.
Yeah, man.
Josh,
It's good to be. It's good to be healthy.
Josh, are
Good.
you moved and unpacked and ready to TA?
I have to move again in a
gosh.
few weeks, but I am currently, yes, I'm good to go.
How can you move twice?
Dude, I've moved from an apartment or from a condo to an Airbnb to an Airbnb to a condo. Like that's going to be my,
That's
Jeez.
painful, bro.
Yeah.
yeah.
Don, how you
Yeah,
doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Market's been up.
The market,
Life's good.
the market has been up. For some reason, Josh decided to start us off with Curve USD.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you were showing my
I am
6.
I am showing your screen. If you want to, he got indicators and pitchforks and clouds and moving averages. The key point here is we're above 40K again this Monday morning. Paul Tudor Jones is talking bullish. What's the rundown, Josh, on the price perspective?
So we've been forming this white coffee and accumulation type of structure at the bottom here. I turn off everything. And ultimately it came down to higher highs or not, right? Like if we're making higher highs, we're good. If we're making lower lows, we're going lower, you know? It's kind of was that simple.
Say now.
This was setting up for a potential descending triangle. You can see the diag pretty clearly there. So
Yeah.
we broke through that yesterday with Sailor buying, with Paul Tudor Jones this morning.
Wasn't that more like Sailor front running though?
Yeah, I don't know. He got filled, right? So he must have been T-wapping at some point.
Did he really?
I thought it was
I thought
all
they
done.
no, I think they
I
it's
think they-
closed. Yeah, it's closed on June 14th. So
Oh,
today, I don't know the exact time, but they, I don't think they can deploy immediately.
No.
Maybe they
Well,
can.
well, then in that case, I apologize for misconstruing.
apologize. This is how we get
Anybody.
to 50K. Sailor is gonna not be able to prevent the FOMO. He will buy despite being $10,000 off the bottom, and that'll mark the top. It's when his $500 million is deployed.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is I couldn't get filled yesterday. I was saying in the pre-show, even on DeFi, with a $200,000 order through DeFi, I was getting 2% plus slippage.
Hold on, Josh. Can you turn your turn your video on just so you can flex a little bit?
It was through Enzyme. It's not for my personal stuff. I wouldn't dare trade my personal stuff through DeFi. No, but I did. Okay, so we have a fund. It's 500 million plus at this point, almost 6. And the plan was to get fills when we start breaking highs here, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get in, you know. So maybe that was part of the market tell as well. That's a market order, right? I can't market order harder than that, and there just wasn't anything for sale. So anyway, at this point here, what I'm looking for is how this plays out. Typically some sort of consolidation. Usually it's a triangle of some kind at the top here. And that will lead to higher highs typically. I mean, if we want to see what it looks like, just look at the silver chart on the weekly. People think I'm crazy. People think I'm crazy for talking about this, but this is the structure you want to see, right? Here's your Wyckoff bottom. Here's your breakup with the, sometimes it overshoots and whatever, but very clearly a triangle here, right? So that's what we're setting up for on BTC at least. And we did have this down pitchfork.
On a 4 hour instead of a weekly.
Right. On the 4 hour instead of the weekly. We did have this down pitchfork that we're breaking out of as well. There's some low time frame EMAs here. There's the 4 hour cloud here. There's all sorts of reasons why we're looking okay. And then if we go to higher time frames, we can just see like targets on the cloud are around 44, 47, something like that. Anything past that is probably a little bit much as far as asking for anything right now.
And anybody can share screens right now, by the way. But Don, have you? How are you feeling? Do you feel like we're still in no man's land, or do you think this is signs of a real reversal?
I think we're still in the crab range. I've been talking about this for the longest time. about like the 32 to 40K range, right? And we're right in the middle of it, or like at the top now. Now, I think in general, this is going to play out probably. I mean, this entire thing is going to break to the up or the downside at some point and then reverse back into the range. But I still think like probably going to take a while to do anything constructive. Now, in my opinion, like the biggest kind of good thing that's been happening over the weekend is this breakout on the weekly time frame, which makes me think like we might be in for breakout to the upside out of the crab range, rather than going sideways, at least for a while. So I could see this go from like this breakout into like the 45, 49K area, like something like this, and then get rejected there. But it kind of depends on what happens after the sailor buys, I think. If you immediately FOMO buys right now and price doesn't explode upwards, I would think that that's going to get faded and we're going to break down. But if price goes aggressively up, basically he has to fight for his fills, I think there's a good chance we go to like 45 to 49K. It's kind of my view on it. But this breakout is pretty significant, I think.
Luke, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. Let me share this real quick. I mean, really for me, it was like, 2 or 3 days ago that we started getting back above the monthly open for Bitcoin. And whether or not you like to use those levels, I have them labeled here in the dark blue. You know, when Bitcoin's in a bull trend, you can even think it's over. But when we have dailies closing above the monthly, like, you know, we had it for 6 or 7 months in a row. Obviously that changed in April and May. But when that happened again 2 or 3 days ago, for me, it's like, it's as simple as, all right, like we're bullish on high time frames. Sailor is going to come in with his TWAP eventually. I don't know if it happens this week or next week or whenever, but that's going to be a nice little, provide some support. Like, you know, even if people do get a little bit scared again and Elon starts tweeting out bullshit, Sailor's kind of there to help us, right? So like, as we move up, I'm not saying we're going to go back to all time highs in one candle, kind of targeting 48K sometime this week or sometime, in June. That's kind of the level I'd love to see, somewhere between 45, 46. I think that's where we go next. And even if we drop, like I think 35s to 37s, I think it's another great buy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what your chart is showing here, Luke, is that we're turning into dip buyers for a bit here.
Yeah.
And I actually am a little more aggressive in terms of where I want to go, like towards where you just meant. That prior, was that the dark blues weekly opens, right? Or monthly?
Light blue.
Okay, so the monthly
dark blues monthly opens.
Yeah. I actually think we can range as high as that prior monthly close at like 54 or 58. And like get into that congestion zone up there, because that's when people will really start to turn bullish. And I think you can wall of worry yourself kind of all the way up before you like really get into a zone where people want to preserve what they've made in the bull market and that kind of stuff. And then you finally see that kind of easing off, go back down into the low 40s and have the longer term consolidation. If you turn that into a weekly chart, you can start to see in terms of like how that might shape up as a long-term pattern to me.
Yeah.
Because right now I just don't think that these weekly candles are so terribly impressive to say like it has to stop. Like it's the start of a recovery. It doesn't demand that we just like crash from here. I certainly think that 45 zone, both Josh and Don gave technical reasons why it's a good resistance. But I think that's a sign. If we get rejected there, it feels very weak to me, like on the macro. And I actually think that we can, if we hover there for a bit, that gives us a lot of leeway to get back into the 50s. Which is just high enough, I think, to like trap people into thinking now. I mean, Josh just said it, like go to 100K, and I don't think that we necessarily have to go straight from like 50K to 100K. I think we can go from 50K back to 40, you know, and like really consolidate and spend essentially the rest of the year in a range like that. That's my like most bullish case personally.
Yeah.
Do y'all think I'm insane, or do you think that's too high of a test?
Well, once we get through 47, I will be happy again. But until then, I'm looking to sell at 47. You know, I'd rather sell at 47 and rebuy at 54 plus than worry about, we're going to go to whatever range that we're going to, unless some massive narrative changes here. I don't think, to me, this is just a sell the mean reversion play.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. It's like once we get up to 45, 47, I think that's highly likely that we do it. Obviously, we don't have to, but 10 to 15%. That's not a lot when Sailor starts buying. So I think that does happen. And then, yeah, Josh, as you were saying, like this isn't going to be a fun area to trade at all because 56, 57 is going to be a really tough resistance. Previous monthly closes, it's the all-time high, a million reasons. And at the same time, it's going to be one of those levels where everyone gets super bullish to move into it. And then we reject. And everyone's like, this range, I think, is going to be even more painful than the one we were just in. It's kind of like a lot more on the line in terms of this is our complacency bounce. Now, are you ready to truck through it or kind of not? So I think this range can be pretty brutal. Like 46 to 56 is not going to be fun to trade. That's going to be, I'd rather sit and watch.
That's certainly where I have no desire to be leveraged or anything like that. Like when that's like, that's crab number 2 in my mind.
Yeah, right here.
You think, Don?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it as long as we don't close back above like 49. Like if we start closing back over 49, I'd expect it to like range even higher than what you've kind of planned, like even into the 60s. Like if we start closing above 49, like a range between 49 and 60 wouldn't be surprising to me, and then up. I'd be surprised if we went up there and then just broke down again. But I mean, it's crypto, right? Who the fuck knows? We have to wait and see how it kind of reacts to those levels. I mean, we've seen price just blast through these kind of things, and we've seen it get rejected. I mean, pretty early, I would say, to kind of talk about 50Ks.
I don't disagree that it's early. When I'm trying to think like what's my long-term plan, I think there's a decent chance, maybe a higher percentage chance than what I see in the market, of testing much higher into the prior highs than people are giving it credit for. Jimmy in the chat asked us if we could comment on, I guess, basically open interest and shorts versus longs. Specifically, he said, could you comment on the shorts situation? So I imagine he's talking about maybe like funding and maybe Bitfinex shorts. Are there some big shorts out there?
Yeah, I think Bitfinex shorts are rising. 2 things to watch for people on the daily BTC chart is the 1050 cross.
Pull them up, Josh.
Yeah. Too many buttons. The 1050 cross, which has been bearish and is getting ready to maybe flip bullish. And then the next thing to watch would be the 50-200 cross, which you're going to hear all sorts of articles about death cross this and that if it does happen for BTC. So get ready for that because that's for sure coming. What was I just going to bring up besides that?
Shorts and versus longs.
Oh, right. I have it here somewhere. BTC. Where are you? Here you are. I think so these Finex shorts in the red here have been picking up and continue to get added onto over the past day in a pretty big way. I don't know if this is John J. Brown. He's like the leaderboard wizard. He was down like 30 million. So it could be him. I don't know what his down is today, but he's somebody that trades in size there. That's why, I think it might be him.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of people are saying it's him, and I wouldn't even be surprised. But the thing is, the guy is mostly non-directional, right? So there's a good chance that he's doing something on one exchange and then doing the opposite on another. I think it's just like people are just trying really hard to find a narrative. And I mean, Bitfinex shorts or longs have rarely mattered in my experience.
They matter more when they are like extreme, right? Like that isn't like shorts rising isn't that big of a deal, but shorts being like at an all-time high is a big deal, right? Like when longs on ETH were rising, that wasn't that big of a deal, but the fact that they were at a mega all-time high on the USD pair.
That's somebody like, really closed. I didn't even realize how much. Off. That's insane.
Yeah, that was January, which was some sort of I don't know exactly, but calendar related looks pretty clear. Because price went way past the January, right? Like January was the beginning
until April.
So whatever this was, they were happy with what they got. But obviously OI for ETH is almost probably at all-time lows, I'd imagine, at this point on Bitfinex.
So I actually do want to pull up a chart. There's a couple of things. It's only on YouTube. Y'all can see it in my window. A couple of things that y'all didn't mention that I think are relevant for Bitcoin levels. One, this 38.2, that was the weekly high back in January. So that was one of my bigger levels, and it looks like partly what we thrusted through there. The 200-day simple moving average is about 42.5, and that's a kind of a sneaky resistance to me, in addition to that 45K level, which was the prior low that we could reject off of. After that, that's when these are the two weekly closes, 57 and 59. When I put those on this daily time frame, that's where we first really made our first big lower high. And where in my mind we should have been paying attention for that shift. And I think that's why between 45 and 58, it feels like a little bit of a gap to me that we could quickly range through, depending on how we get through it. But I wasn't trying to diminish how significant this area could be. Certainly worth risking off there, because I think the next trade is much easier, like that trade right there. Anyway, so those are a couple of Bitcoin levels. One of the differences on ETH that I wanted to highlight was that, we never made it down to the 200-day on ETH just because it had moved so strongly. But this does set up potential for one of my favorite trades, which is essentially flipping this 20-day. So if you lose it, you regain it. It makes for a decent long opportunity. It doesn't work every time, but I think this could be where we see ETH start to recover on the ETH BTC pair, is if it flips this 20-day at the same time BTC is going into that 200-day. I think we could see ETH move into the low 3Ks while Bitcoin's kind of battling 42. So that's a trade that I'm watching. Back when I was trying to figure out what was what, I was a little nervous about how bearish I was getting at 2,300. So that's when I finally decided to push back in. It was right at this daily low, and I think that was actually a weak support, but the fact that we bounced off of it, technically we kept a higher low situation here. Structurally, this is all still recovery in my mind from the lows that we had in late May. And if we recover 26, to me that's actually confirmation that ETH is still very, very strong, and it didn't demand to go back and revisit the highs from February and go down to the 200-day and make a new low relative to the wicks that it created in May. So I know dominance people are feeling pretty good about it with Bitcoin, but I'm actually pretty happy with where ETH is still here. Of course, it's sitting at resistance at this very moment, but I think if we see this start to clear 2,600 in the next couple of days, I think it could have $400 or $500 more in it, which I don't know that people are really anticipating. So that's my 2 cents to add on the ETH and BTC landscape. Josh, you're looking at MicroStrategy.
Yeah, the ETH and the MSTR chart were similar to me, because MSTR, it doesn't matter what this is, it just happens to be MSTR. But for me, the level on ETH that makes the most sense to be bullish again is above 3K. And you can see what happened to MSTR. I don't expect ETH to necessarily follow the trajectory, but this is the same type of thing that I'm watching, because we had that Adam and Eve setup, we had that ascending triangle thing, right? We had all of that. Sorry, let me pull up the chart somewhere. Yeah, here. We had this setup that looked beautiful, and then Bitcoin dragged down ETH with it, and now it's just kind of in this crumple zone. I don't know. And that horizontal.
It reminds me of the Dalai Lama chart, the mu based recovery. I don't know.
This horizontal is still there. It didn't disappear. So that's 29, 3K, something like that. I don't know. to watch gas go to zero, to watch DeFi activity go to zero, like that's problematic. That tells me that there's 2 or 3 people who trade this stuff to keep it afloat. Like, and you've had them all on your show, you know, Alamitos, ReAC, if they come back to DeFi in whatever way, shape or form, you know, you can watch the wallets, the Alameda wallets. Then gas will go up, you know, activity will come back, liquidity begets liquidity. But right now it's problematic. Go ahead.
I think the other side of that, Josh, too, and I completely agree. There's definitely probably only 3 people trading it right now. But when Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin like actually does have legs to recover, like we were talking about, you know, if it's particularly strong for the rest of the month, if we get above 45, 46, and we do go challenge 50, it just becomes one of those things where as people start to make some money on Bitcoin, the money flows into there and volatility gets back there. All of a sudden, you know, people move a little bit further out in the risk curve. Like lately, they haven't wanted to do that in crypto because the risk has been insane. Like they have all the vol and all the risk they could want with Bitcoin down. So like if Bitcoin starts to recover again, I think pretty quickly people go, okay, Bitcoin gave me 10 or 15% this week. What can ETH give me? Can ETH give me 20%? And then, you know, they kind of expand. Like towards the end of this cycle, before ETH and DeFi and everything dropped, everyone was trying to juice further out in the risk curve because they wanted to keep squeezing out as much as we could from crypto. I think Bitcoin kind of has to bring some of that risk appetite in a way back to DeFi and back to ETH.
Yeah, but I mean,
it could happen quick.
Yeah, but for me, the narrative is super Bitcoin centric.
I agree.
Right now.
I agree.
So it makes like no sense to me for ETH to actually like outperform Bitcoin, which I mean I could be completely wrong on, but like I've been of the opinion that ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin for the longest time. Now I think the opposite is kind of going to be the case, where you're going to see, if anything, like whether Bitcoin goes up or down, right? I think Bitcoin is going to be stronger, just based on the fact that let's say Bitcoin breaks down from here, right? Let's say Bitcoin does like the bearish retest or whatever at like 45 and then starts breaking down. I think ETH BTC is going to take a hit no matter what. Like I think it's going to be pulling back with Bitcoin. And then let's say Bitcoin breaks out to 60K. Like I don't see a world in which ETH is going to be pulling alongside with it. I think if anything, it's going to struggle. Like ETH BTC is going to go down. ETH USD is going to go like slightly up. And then at some point, once Bitcoin is kind of reestablished in the higher ranges, then you're going to see ETH outperform again. But like right now, I'm really struggling to see the bullish case for ETH against Bitcoin. So I'm just focusing on Bitcoin because it's really hard for me to make that case.
Short term, 100%.
I think it's just consolidation personally. Like 1559 narrative hasn't gone away.
It hasn't. You're right. It hasn't gone away, but I don't think it has a reason to come back. Right? Everyone's talking Bitcoin.
I mean, like that's the thing. You have all of these El Salvador news, that kind of stuff, right? So the spotlight, in my opinion, anyways, because I mean, Bitcoin is still tethering on like a huge fucking cliff, right? Anything below 32K, and who the fuck knows where this is gonna go, right? So we need the bullish narrative to be on Bitcoin, because if it isn't, if we're gonna see ETH like kind of steal the bid away from Bitcoin again, I mean, then it becomes dangerous for Bitcoin and in turn for ETH, in my opinion anyway. So it's like as people are bullish on ETH, you always see less bid on Bitcoin, because I mean, the same people are kind of competing for like two different things. And then I think that'd be pretty shitty in this situation. So like for me, even the ETH bulls want Bitcoin to outperform ETH in this kind of instance right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I guess it just depends on time frame, right? Like, could it do it for a couple of weeks? Could it go to like back to 0.055 or something like that? Like fully retest those weekly levels? Sure.
But through the rest of the year? Through
the rest of the year, I still feel fairly bullish on ETH.
That's fair.
Sad RX asked us a good question. If BTC climbs to the 50K range, how do we spot the difference between a capitulation bounce or like a complacency bounce and a cycle climb resuming? So like likelihood for new highs. What are the key things that y'all will look for between capitulation and continuation, or complacency and continuation?
I mean, we're gonna like if we go back in that range and we get like massively inflated derivatives again, and we get positive funding in huge digits, and people are just like speculating on 100K. I think that's going to be a bad sign. If we don't see any of that, like let's say we climb up and derivatives are trading below spot or in the same range. I mean, that'd be a good sign. Like that's one of the things that you can watch. And then in general, you can just avoid trading up here. Like if you, let's say you're establishing long down here, right? Or buying down here and it goes towards 49K. Like I don't see the reason to stay much longer than that because you can just reestablish in the 60Ks. And I think everyone in here agrees that if we're like starting to trade and close in the 60Ks, we're probably going to go much higher. I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. So you can just avoid, like take more risk here, avoid trading in that like 50 to 60K range, then start trading again in the 60K range.
I think we'll start pounding that ceiling on like some kind of 4-hour chart. We'll be on the underside of maybe 58 or 60K, and it'll just create an ascending triangle or something like that eventually bursts. I think volume's another thing to keep an eye on up there. And like maybe exchange flows. Josh talks about exchange flows a good bit, but if you start seeing coins like moving to exchanges pretty heavily as it churns up, that could be a sign that people are willing to risk off and just wait till what's next.
Yeah, I don't even know which on-chain data that's even trustworthy anymore to look at for that, because like the exchange flows for BTC never looked terrible. They were increasing, but they weren't like terrible. The ETH exchange flows, let me just look at them today. They're back basically to multi-year lows as far as ETH on exchanges, you know. So like this is telling me I should be more bullish than I am, if it matters, right? I don't know, honestly. There's so much stuff that like has slightly little meaning that I don't know how to interpret it at this point, because I want to look at this and say, yes, this is a bullish divergence, right? But putting it into context with everything else, it's like maybe it doesn't matter as much as I think it does. I don't know.
Yeah. One thing in DeFi land that I wanted to talk about briefly is like I think a lot of these coins that were so hyped up, I'm just looking at Sushi here as an example. When you look at them in linear, what I realized is that basically ever since February, these things like lost all semblance of normalcy, and the variations that you see in price were so extraordinary. It looks like a cycle that's done, like it's just a very messy chart. But at the same time, they just hyper capitulated all the way back to levels from like the beginning of the year, which is when, you know, this mad DeFi run up began. Like even if you're, go ahead.
I was just going to say the risk for all of DeFi and ETH is a pullback to the yearly open, basically. Like right. That's where it could be headed, which is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, but I think they priced that in a bit. Like I'm looking at Sushi USD, and if you look at horizontals, like it didn't make new lows versus what it did in May, but it was like okay, this is over, I'm out. And it just looks like it just ran out of sellers. And I think even a bearish, bearish buying, or so, you could get to $10 or $11 on stuff like this and end up with a 20-30% move. So that's kind of the way that I've been like re-engaging my exposure is a blend of, you know, BTC rotating a little bit to ETH and then trying to buy what feels like capitulation on some of these DeFi projects. Like Synthetics and Sushi look very similar to me. I mean, it looks like total capitulation where people are like acting like it's dead. After on the top side, you know, I have this hilarious drawing that's like, it looks so bullish, and I was like, sure, we'll go into infinity. And that was right before the 40% candle down. And I think that just depressed absolutely everybody. So I think if you're like an accumulator, a long-term DeFi bull or something, this is not a horrible place to buy.
If you're a long-term DeFi community member, now is the time for you.
That's right.
Ledger, is that a roundabout way of saying that you like Rune at $8 instead of $4? Is that what you're trying to tell us? You're a buyer on Rune?
I bought Rune as a piece of the olive branch. Yeah.
Let's go.
I bought it at like 7 something. So yeah. I mean, I told them, even when they were beefing me, I told them, I was like, get your dead cat bounces at 650. It was right where the 200-day moving average was. So I bought it as it recovered off of that, and it's up. I'm not going to complain.
Let's go.
Luke had that BCH chart up, and it reminded me, BCH BTC is a beautiful head and shoulders on it right now. Like, look at that. It's not pretty, but it's definitely there. It looks disgustingly bad.
Send it to 0.
That looks terrible. Doge USD has a head and shoulders on it as well.
I mean, have you seen Doge BTC? That shit looks done. Like, this cycle, I think, is done.
The music is over.
Yeah.
I just don't know who is waking up right now and saying, man, I want to tack on a little more risk. Let's run this back. Like, I just don't know who's doing that. Seriously.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're brave enough to buy this, I mean, Jesus Christ, you have some balls. Do you guys remember, like, we talked about this, like this pattern being at the top every single time on the BTC pair? And that's how it topped on the third trust up. Like, we've all seen this, right? You get like 3 pushes, and that's it for whatever you're trading. And you get the crash, and it fucking goes and does something like this. Like, I think this is gonna be next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have fun.
That's the pattern. Somebody screenshot that and then come back and do the remind me thing for like 400 days.
Yep. I mean, I think this is gonna take like 2-3 years. Probably. I mean, Doge's just going to sit out an entire cycle, probably, just based on like how it's trading.
It's over.
Unless Elon just comes in and does something stupid again. But I don't even think he could push it up
now.
It'll
be a sell the news.
Yeah.
He's lost some of his power, man.
I think it depends on what it looks like as well when Robinhood adds more coins.
I mean, just look at it, guys. We were talking about Doge being a buy at 20 sats. Like, and now it's at 800, and we're acting like it's down a ton. 20 sats to 800 is the trade of a lifetime. I mean, I was thick on that green bar that you've got down there, and I couldn't hold it because I was just like, this thing is just hovering here. Like, I do not want at 100 sats. I was like, Doge at 100 sats is idiotic. Well, it's an 8x now. I would be freaking retired if I would like had iron hands through that, and it was just insane. But it's over. At some point, it's just over.
Anybody who's been here since prior to 2021, it was too right side of the curve to hold that.
Yep. I mean, this is just brutal. I mean, this just reminds me of the XRP pump, honestly, in 17, because it does not remind me of a Doge pump, because Doge was just like an insider joke all along. And then it got into like this public thing. And XRP kind of went through this thing in 17 where it was relatively similar, right? So, I mean, it was just on its own, and it had its massive pump. And I mean, maybe Dogecoin does something like this, like XRP did, where it retraces the entire thing and just double bubbles. I don't know. But I mean,
that was the end of the bull market as a whole. If that happens on Doge, that's our exit all market signal. Like, say it goes back to like 400 or 500 and then it spikes to 1,500 or above, anything above 1,000, that is legit exit all markets. Like, I do not think that the bull market is sustained in that. That's a game over type of pump. I think Doge, the new 20 sats will be like 100, 120 sats. And it's going to take years, because this is just forever distribution for these whales who were loading up on Doge sub 20 for a very long time. Like, they don't care. They're extraordinarily rich off of this, and they'll bleed it down as far as it takes.
Their grandchildren's grandchildren will be selling Doge. Like that's all they have to do. They wake up at 8 a.m. They just hit sell like one lot, and then they're good. That's their job for the rest of their life.
I mean, that's what XRP does, right? So I mean, might as well copy that.
They just TWAP sell for the rest of their life.
Yeah, but I mean, that's Doge. I think, like, honestly, I think the moment Dogecoin does well again, let's say this bounces from here, right, and goes back up. I mean, that's another exit all markets kind of signal in itself, right? It doesn't have to go all the way down. Like Dogecoin goes up, Shiba goes up, you fucking run, because I mean, then you have like the second phase of the retail mania. And I mean, we've had that with like Shiba and Doge, right? Some people been saying like, okay, where has the old season been, right? This cycle. I mean, it's been in this garbage, which is, I mean, sad to see, because I mean, there's better things to trade. But I mean, the retail just kind of like stocks and cats and that kind of stuff, apparently.
And Kim Kardashian was shilling Emacs yesterday on her Instagram with 200 million followers.
Where the hell can I trade Emacs, man? Everyone's shilling Emacs. You got Floyd Mayweather out there shilling Emacs.
It's on chain only. I don't understand how these people access it. I don't think they do.
How are they getting paid? Did they raise a ton of money? Like, these guys must be paying out.
Just have a big
all these
scam.
influencers so much money.
I don't know. It's a big scam with a lot of money, and people are going to get indicted.
It has no market cap. I mean, there's just like no metrics on it.
It's like 10 quadrillion supply or something like that. I looked it up during an Up Only episode. Nomad trolled me for like giving Emacs free publicity. but now Kim Kardashian's got it on her Instagram stories. She got 200 million followers. People are just out there figuring out like, what is this and how do I buy it? Like the fact that, honestly, this is somewhat bullish on like on-chain trading, is that the fact that Shiba and Save the World and all these scam coins with these a percentage goes back to LP type garbage. The fact that anyone can actually get on chain and buy them and do it is incredible to me, unless it's just insiders front running retail. But I think some of it truly is retail that's figuring it out and participating, which is stunning.
It's hilarious because it's Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. It reminds me very, like, we've had that before. Like during the run-up in 17, I still remember being in some Facebook groups just to kind of see where sentiment was and that kind of stuff. And they were pretty quick to figure stuff out. So, I mean, I think the same is happening again. I can't bring myself to kind of sift through it again. So I'm just staying away. Yeah. But it's like, I think there's legitimately like big groups where this shit gets pushed. I mean, a friend of mine actually took out a loan to all in a BSC scam and got rug pulled for pretty much all of it.
So do it.
Yep.
Oh man.
I mean, he's a student.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, it's not like a big loan, but it's like, yeah, still big for him. So, I mean, it's just, I think when you have that kind of stuff happen, it's not just him that's happening to, right? My friends are reasonably intelligent. I mean, I told him not to, but I mean, I guess everyone has to do dumb shit on their own. But yeah, I mean, these kind of groups exist and they're going to herd you into this garbage and then you're going to get rug pulled. It's just how people get introduced to crypto nowadays, I guess.
You want to see one more good one that's like classic crypto? This is called Internet Computer.
Oh, jeez.
It got listed on Coinbase, which I just assume Andreessen Horowitz is invested in this because it's on Coinbase. But it literally just was down only from the moment it got on there. Listed at $630. It's now at $67. So, I mean, this is the type of stuff that retail's been FOMOing, and they're freaking wrecked.
Wait, hold on. Internet Computer is a name change from Definity, isn't it? Isn't that just the new name for Definity Coin?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it is. It is Definity.
I assume when they do stuff like that, they're just going to be releasing more coins. And they don't want people to think like that
this is
Definity is the only one.
Yeah. So that's Definity. Yeah. So that was the big joke, was that podcast. I don't know who hosted it last year. I think it was Laura Shin or someone had on the guy who created it. And she's like, so how is it going to work? And it just turned into the biggest meme because of how hilarious it was, the explanation. And that's what made this even better, is like they named themselves Internet Computer Coin. It's a perfect description of like, what the fuck does that even mean?
It wasn't the top 10 or something, right?
I had a in real life friend ask me, it's the Definity Explorer is, oh my God.
Yeah. That's what made this even funnier.
Okay. So it might be a real project. Like Definity was so hyped, but it's just down only. Let's see.
But I mean, it legitimately listed at like top 10 or top 20 market cap, right? Like
yeah.
So it started trading like Yeah, I mean, where the fuck do you want to go from
The
there?
fully diluted valuation is $31 billion even today.
I mean, that's what I'm saying,
that's
right?
Down 90%.
Like, if you're buying this, like, what the fuck do you expect? Like, where do you think this is gonna go? Like, above Bitcoin, or like, what's your target?
What? That's
Hey, it's the internet computer, man. That's a pretty big idea. I don't know.
That's so stupid,
It's a big target market.
man. Down 90% is still FTV at 31 billion. And if people that say FTV doesn't count, I don't care what you say. 8.8 billion is the supply-driven market cap, and it's only got like what 20%, 25% out in the market. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, people say that it doesn't matter because they're trading it on like the daily time frame. And then they're wondering, like, once it goes against them and they're holding it, they're wondering why it's down only, right?
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, when the market is in an upswing, no one really gives a shit about that stuff. And yeah, it can go much higher than you think. But when you're in a downswing, that kind of stuff is going to dump the hardest, obviously, because it's trading so much higher than it should be worth.
Yan White in the chat said the market cap was nearly $500 billion. So yeah, these VCs are just going to bleed this out forever. It's still number 18 based on current market cap, not fully diluted or anything. Number 18. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was Definity. I just missed that memo altogether.
Yeah, I think I saw that, and then I just found the whole launch a lot less exciting. It's not even like it should be downtrending this hard, like you guys just explained. It's just that they got so greedy with how they launch, and we've tried. There's been so many iterations of how to launch a project and make sure it's X market cap, and it's like they've nailed that. They probably even know that it's just going to do shitty after launch, but they don't really care.
All right. So my question, do you remember when freaking EOS launched? Is this our EOS like bottom moment? Like this just stupid thing curls up because why not? Markets are stupid. And this, like, do y'all remember EOS, the forever ICO? And it just
there was actually some hype though around EOS. Like there was actually a ton of people who thought that was a more efficient way to do it. I swear,
you're the forever
I'm not making
EOS,
it up.
You're the forever EOS bull, though.
I used to love trading EOS. Look, there was a point in time where a lot of people thought, okay, staking might be the way, and Ethan's going to do it for a long time. And then EOS broke, right? Like you kind of have to admit that, but. Yeah, I don't think there's a group of people right now that are saying ICP, that's where things should be built. If there are, I haven't seen that group.
Yeah, I don't know. It was super hyped though from VC land, but that's why. And I guarantee you, every single person that had access to coins sold them. That's why it went down so much.
Yeah, but I think like number 18 on, I legitimately go through this where I'm like, when I'm buying an altcoin, I look at the list and I'm like, okay, what's the market cap? And how high can I see this go? And like, if it's at 18 right now, like, I mean, the upside is pretty limited to like take that big of a risk. Like I remember EOS doing the same thing and it dumped like straight through, like I was like the 30th spot or something, because like, that's as stupid as that sounds and as stupid of a way of looking at this thing is. I mean, that's how it works, right? That's how people look at it. This is like EOS is pretty much like halfway from ETH or whatever when it was back like pumping. And then they're like, okay, is this justified? Is this going to overtake ETH? And then they're going to de-risk, right? That's the most like this easiest way to judge what a coin should be worth, in my opinion. So if it's like super high up in the coin market cap list or whatever, I mean, less people are going to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's integer bias. I don't even think most people pay attention to market cap. They're just like, oh, this is
the smaller ones during mania. But like the bigger ones, I think like legitimately even the bigger ones look at it and they're like, okay, this is like getting ridiculous now. And then the bigger ones are gonna like make it dumb at some point.
There's just some things on this market cap list that absolutely blow my mind. Like Ethereum.
That's why the whole list is just stupid.
I know. Ethereum Classic is still $7.5 billion market cap, number 21. Stellar, number 19, $7.9 billion. It's incredible. It's incredible to me. Like this is what Shiba Inu is number 33 at 3.5 billion. Shiba Inu. What is Shiba? Like, is it just a Doge clone, or is it like, are they trying to act like they're something else?
They're trying to act like something else. They're actually trying to do like, someone like I get all the Shiba haters, so I always like see something, and someone said they were trying to like build a decentralized exchange or something. I don't fucking know.
For dogs?
Yeah, I have no idea.
What's
but like
the market?
I get all the Shiba shills in my mentions because I said it's gonna go to 0, and now they're always like whenever
Always
something
there.
comes out, they're gonna
CC
add me
Don.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a good sign of like how long distribution can last. You know, this is many years in the making. Like Neo and freaking Bitcoin SV still $3.2 billion. Did y'all see the Calvin Ayre Cope video at the BSV conference? And they're like changing the name to the Bitcoin Enterprise Utility Chain or something like that.
Bitcoin Enterprise Utility Blockchain Data something. It's a giant name.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But these distributions, they literally last forever because these people who are the whales in the projects, this is no different, by the way, than what Doge will do over the next several years. Their price is basically zero relative to the current price. So they will just willingly sell forever. And these platforms have no activity or utility. So it's just insane. XRP, $41 billion still. $41 billion.
Should be higher.
I legitimately think the reason why a lot of these bigger coins bleed out like they do is because, I mean, you make a bunch of money on the launch by whatever you do, right? ICO, IDO, whatever, right? You make a bunch of money, and then you have like some money there that you can use and fund the team with. And then it takes like half a year, and then you're like, okay, we need some more, and then you sell some, and that just keeps them going, right? I mean, these projects aren't making any money. It's not like...
Yeah, they just fund themselves forever by selling their coins.
They have to fund themselves, basically. And that's why they're like, you sometimes see these bleed outs, right? This goes and goes and goes. It's just because there's a team sitting there that like legitimately got those tokens for 0. And then they're just going to dump on your head for the rest of eternity. Yeah, and that's their payment, right? I mean, you're paying their wages, basically. You're like, okay, I'm socialist. I'm ready to pay their wages, basically. I mean, that's how it works.
I wouldn't have an issue with that. Even like Link, the one everybody loves. I wouldn't have an issue with it if they weren't selling like in the billions of dollars a month. Like, you don't need $1 billion a month, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's be realistic here.
The Lambo fund.
It would be nice though.
It's like a Lambo.
You cannot justify to anybody, to me, I don't care who you are, you can't justify that and say this is okay, you know, this is fine, we need this money, right? We need this for biz dev. I hear that a lot from the Link people. Like, why exactly do you need $1 billion a month? You know?
It can't be $1 billion a month. Their market cap is 10
Partnerships.
Maybe it's like 100 million a month.
Yeah, it's not. I'm exaggerating.
It's a lot. Okay.
But it's a lot. It's multiple millions per month. Okay, like,
yeah.
Sorry, that's unnecessary. You're just trying to exit. It's pretty clear. Just be honest with the people. You know, that's the part that makes me angry, is when people try to justify it. And it's like, guys, wake up, wake the fuck up. That they're doing exactly what Don is saying, exactly what you guys are saying. Like, they're just exiting. You know.
Yeah, it'll still take them like 30 years to do it. That's probably why they justify that.
Well, in Link's case, they're selling it more and more every month. Yeah. So they'll be done in like a year or 2.
Oh, wow.
They'll just be out.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, that's the crazy part, right? Like, the only reason why you would want to be selling more than you actually spend is because you think your token shouldn't be worth as much.
Right. Exactly. That's the signal. The signal is, this is the best price we're going to get. And if it goes higher, great, right?
The team thinks it's a fantastic place to sell, but the community says it's going higher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fucking mental, but I mean, that's been crypto.
That's how it goes. All right. Hey,
2021.
Yeah, we've been on for 50 minutes, so why don't we spend the last few minutes talking about what are we going to watch this week? I imagine everybody's looking at the primary Bitcoin price, but Luke, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. That trade's been the same. I mean, I talked about it at the beginning of the stream, trying to figure out where the button is to share again. The trade hasn't changed for the past couple of days, right? Back above the monthly open. That's the trigger for me. I do think that we move towards, what is that? 45 to 47 this week. I think that's a great risk off area. wouldn't be surprised if we move through it. It's all going to kind of depend on how the market continues to react and if Saylor starts deploying the TWAP as viciously as he has in the past. So if that happens, sweet. I also don't want to rule out like a total kind of fake out. Maybe we do move back into 36, 37 and everyone kind of freaks out again that this is a freight breakout. But I think the general direction over the next week or two for the rest of June should be up. I think this target's going to be easy to hit. I think the other targets I'm kind of, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think 47, 46 is kind of, I think that's a high likelihood of happening this week.
Love it.
Yeah, and I agree. I have the exact same thoughts there. As long as Elon doesn't tweet anything stupid and the FOMONC meeting or whatever that's going on this week in Legacy World doesn't say the Fed is stopping their tapering. I don't even know. I don't know the terms. I don't know the words. As long as the Fed doesn't reverse course on inflation or whatever, just stay the course, make the dollar weak, bleed the dollar to zero, we'll be fine, right? Like that's what I want to see if we're bullish crypto here.
I imagine that'll all be interpretation, right? Because they never say anything that's too insane. Like they're not going to be like, turns out inflation is not transitory. We are screwed. Like they
bullish dollar.
Yeah, they always take it pretty easy. All right, Don, what do you got?
So for me, I don't think you need to be watching the charts too much. You want to be watching what happens after Saylor's buys is through. And I think it's going to be this week. I think he's going to FOMO again. And that's probably going to push price higher. But what you want to be seeing is that once he's posting on Twitter that he's bought, you want to be seeing like price at least stay like flat. You don't want to be seeing immediate dumping, because if you see immediate dumping, I think people just use basically him as exit liquidity, and then we're in deep trouble. As long as it's staying flat or going up, we're good to go. And then 49K makes a lot of sense. But I think like that's legitimately the best thing to watch as far as signals go, like how the price reacts to basically Saylor announcing that he's bought. Like it's probably going to jump like in the first 5 to 10 minutes, but like the next 4 hours are going to be super important, because I've talked with a bunch of bigger players and they've all been saying like, basically back at the lows, that it doesn't make sense to be bearish because Saylor's going to buy. And now we've bounced a shitload and Saylor's going to buy, and you want to be seeing if those people basically get the fuck out into his liquidity or if they're going to stick with it. And if they're going to stick with it, target 49K easy. And if they don't, and if we start bleeding out off of his announcement, I think we're going to go to shit, basically.
We didn't even talk about this, but one last thing is he got like what 1.6 billion in
interest.
Yep. So to me that says people don't care what it is, they just like the vehicle, and if it's advantageous, it reminds me of GBTC, because it's like there was this massive premium for so long, great, but it was because of how it worked and how it was structured that people could like cash and carry or arb that. So I think we can't get too bullish on the narrative where we see all this money flowing into Bitcoin, right? But it's not really why people are flooding to that, because they could easily just go to spot, right, and buy what they want to buy, but they're not,
Yeah, Arthur Hayes actually, if anyone's really curious on that, Arthur Hayes put out an article and explained exactly why that's happening, why so many people pile into all his raises. It's interesting.
I'd love to take a read on that. And then for me, I'll give the Ethereum version of the same thing, but I'd like to see mid 2400s hold if it's going to retest, and then basically see what happens around 2700 to 2750 to 2800. If it can clear that, that's when I think it could push as high as like 32, even in the next week. Don't think that's the likely scenario, but I do think it's possible. And certainly if it holds these kind of ETH BTC levels, then that's the type of stuff that I'd be looking for to go alongside those pushes higher into the 40Ks. The part where I'd get nervous, I think you basically have to ride ETH down before you're willing to risk off, like below 2375, 2350, something like that. If that happens, I think you could see like this whole thing kind of curl down a bit more and go to 2000, 2100, something like that. But overall, I'm bullish, and I think it's actually going to go tap 2750 this week. So that's my thoughts.
One other thing to keep in mind is the ETH premium is increasingly negative. The discount's growing relative to BTC even. And I don't know when those unlocks are happening with Ethy, but if they're in the next month, that's something else to pay attention to as well, because that's going to affect.
Could add pressure
spot
on ETH BTC, similar to what it did with Bitcoin.
Right.
That's a good thought. All right. Thanks for being here, y'all. Go to weeklyopen.com/Botfolio. You can trade from one asset to the other very easily. You can track your portfolio as well. Track that recovery. Connect your bank to your crypto assets as well. It's easy onboarding and offboarding. Thanks to Botfolio for being our partner, and thanks everybody for being here. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.